What's up, people? Julie with Wild You here. I don't know about you, but I need to get out into nature. Happy New Year, by the way. Today we're hiking around Lake Cohasset, which is one of the 3 lakes in Mill Creek MetroParks. And it takes about an hour and a half to hike this whole trail around the lake. And one of the reasons I like hiking around Cohasset in the winter is because I'm craving some green. I don't know about you guys. Craving some color. And these trails around Cohasset have a lot of hemlocks, which are these trees here. And Cohasset actually means place of pines. So it's actually named after the green that you're going to see on the trail. After the hemlocks, you'll see. And the hemlocks have real tiny pine cones. If I find any. Here's one here. So that's a hemlock pine cone. The seeds will be within that cone itself. All right, let's go see what we can find. These are the needles of the hemlock. They are single needles, run along the stem, flat, and if you flip them over, they have 2 tiny white lines underneath each needle. So the first thing I'm coming across is something called a jelly fungus, an orange jelly fungus. And it grows on conifers, and this is a downed hemlock. It usually grows on dead or dying trees or logs, and it's gelatinous, and sometimes it pops up overnight and then disappears because it'll appear with moisture or a recent rain, which we've had. So in the winter, you'll come across some deciduous trees that still have their leaves. And there's a reason for this. These trees are marcescent. These here are beech trees. And the reason they don't lose their leaves is they don't form the abscission layer or the cell layer at the base of the leaf that cuts off supply and nutrients to the leaf from the tree. Other deciduous trees will form this layer, and the leaves will fall off with rain and wind after it's formed. But some trees don't form that layer, and they'll retain their leaves longer, like the beeches and some oak trees. It's marcescence. When leaves don't leave. A winter glove in search of its mate. It's mating season for winter gloves, if you didn't know. Here we see some more green in the forest. This is an interesting plant, if you've ever come across it. It is scouring rush, which is in the horsetail family, related to ferns. And when they used to grow millions of years ago, they used to be the size of trees, but they're hollow and segmented pieces and have a rough surface. I don't know if you can see that. Hence the name, scouring rush. Pioneers used to use it a lot to scour things and to clean dishes and anything that needed a rough surface. The plant itself contains silica, so mammals don't prefer to eat it, and it can really take over an area, but it is native. But pretty cool bamboo looking plant. And they don't produce seeds but spores like ferns in these little capsules here. What's that? Looks like something you'd find at the beach. I don't know. I have to look it up. That's how I learn things. I find it and I figure out what it is, and then I remember what it is because I did the research. If you come across these red berries on a bush that has thorns and no leaves in the winter, this is called Japanese barberry. It bites and it's invasive. A lot of people have it in their yards. It has like a maroonish, greenish, rounded leaves, and invasive if you can't tell. So on these rocks here you'll see moss, but you'll also see lichens. And lichens are actually two organisms in a symbiotic relationship where they both benefit from each other, and it's an algae and a fungus. And you'll usually find them on rocks or trees. Pretty cool. Some people weren't liking it. This is actually iron oxide leaching out. Native Americans used to use it to paint, whether it was on their faces or on other things. A log, a dead tree that's decomposing, returning nutrients back to the earth, important for other things to grow, important for wildlife as a shelter. Dead trees are just as important as living trees in the ecosystem. Really cool looking. Some of it looks like a brain. It's edible. Used in soups. But remember, you always have to make sure you know what plant or mushroom you are looking at before you eat it. They say you can always eat a mushroom once. Every mushroom once. No, strike that. Okay. The saying is that you can always eat... No. You can eat any mushroom once. That's it. Here we have a Christmas fern, which keeps its leaves all year. And one way to recognize the Christmas fern is they say that this leaf here looks like a stocking that would hang off of your fireplace. And the way that you identify ferns, which can be very tricky, is based off the spores off on the underside and how much the leaves are divided into leaflets. Lake Cohasset is the oldest of the 3 lakes here in Mill Creek MetroParks. The other 2 lakes are Lake Newport and Lake Glacier. And there used to be swimming in Lake Cohasset. There used to be a bathing house. You could rent a swimsuit for 20 cents an hour, I believe. 10 cents was to rent a towel. And even the Youngstown Swimming Club used a bathing house here. And unfortunately, there is no swimming in Mill Creek MetroParks now. And that's because the lakes aren't as clean as they used to be, because of the CSOs that were put into the park, which are combined sewage overflows, which Volney Rogers, the founder of the park, tried to fight because he knew what it would do to the park and to our waters, and unfortunately he lost. So now there's no swimming in the lakes in Mill Creek Park. And the lakes are man-made by creating a dam. So this is a dam that you see. And they actually built it with sandstone that they quarried from within the park. There were a few quarries in the park. Pretty cool. We made it to the other side of the trail, of the lake, I should say. We have Pioneer Pavilion right there. So this is Pioneer Pavilion, which is gorgeous on the inside if you're looking for somewhere to rent for a party. And over here we have a historical structure. This here is a blast furnace. It's one of the first in Youngstown. There were 3 in Mahoning County. And this blast furnace was built by the Eaton brothers. And it was used to produce iron. So they would burn coal and then later charcoal to produce iron. The hillside eventually covered it up, and then YSU students came in 2003, I believe, and dug it out, which is really cool. Looks like a throne. Pioneer Pavilion was used for many things in the past. One of the things it was used for, it was a woolen mill. It was also used to store things for the blast furnace, and at some point was a barn for cows. You could see some of the pick marks of where they shaped the stone or chiseled it out. Some white-tailed deer tracks. So now we're on the other side of Cohasset. This would be the west side. The way you know is Mill Creek flows north towards Mahoning River, which where it meets. So if you face north towards Lake Glacier, on the right side of Cohasset would be the east side. On the left side of Cohasset, which is what we're on, is the west side. So we're on the West Cohasset Trail. kingfisher. Someone to tell this tree that we don't get much sun in Northeast Ohio. Hey, cool. Anyone know what that is? It's a mud dauber nest. They use mud to make the nest. It's a type of wasp. Hey, more orange jelly fungus. Fungus among us. So here we have burdock. And this plant, like these balls will stick to you. Stick to creatures. To disperse the seeds. And actually Velcro was designed after this. Look, it's even sticking to my dry skin. Burdock. The Velcro plant. So here's a cave. They actually used to mine coal and I believe iron ore out of the park itself. And here is a fossil, a plant fossil in the rock here. It's interesting. Maybe they're up here, hibernating. There is something back there moving. What is it? Oh my goodness. It's a salamander. You see it? Not sure if you guys can see that slimy salamander back there. Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you in there.
You're good. I should come at night and see in the spring and summer if any bats fly out at dusk. This geological feature here is called honeycomb weathering, and you'll see it on the sandstone in the park, in the gorge too. And it's where parts of the rock are eroded by certain forces. In this case, I believe it would be water, but it'd be water, wind, salt, and that occurs a lot in coastal areas. You'll see a lot of this honeycomb weathering, and the salt is the main culprit. So this here is Witch's Cave, and there's many stories about this once existing cave, but they bricked it up because it was narrow and I guess people would get stuck in it. They would joke and say a witch lived in it and would take children in there. And they even found a monkey, I guess, in there that escaped from Idora Park nearby. So if you ever hear about Witch's Cave, it's right here. You could tell it because it's bricked up by human hands, and it's right by the suspension bridge up along the rocks here. Well, that concludes our hike around Lake Cohasset here at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Thanks for watching, and until our next adventure, we'll see you in the wild.